Real talk, raw feelings. This is a Tuna Grades podcast series, if I'm being honest, with your host, Nishani and I'm the founder of Tuna Grade.
And I'm Himgauri, Gigi to my friends and a founder of Tessellations.
Yeah. So today we've both been talking about this important topic about reaching out for help and what it looks like for people to reach out for help and what it means to experience needing help. And September was Suicide Prevention Month,
Right.
which is a very big topic in the mental health world. So I've been talking about it, putting some posts out there, and both of us realized, like, wait a second, this is something that would really benefit all of our listeners if we jumped into talking about what it feels like to help someone who's maybe not ready for help. What do you do when you need to ask for help? How do you go about it?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we normalize the conversation about reaching out, whether it is you reaching out to somebody else or somebody else asking for help and wanting others to reach out for them? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I am going to say this is mostly me being the audience here, and I would kind of, be throwing out all of those questions to you because I'm definitely not the expert, but somebody on the other side who has reached out and gotten help and gotten better with it. So
Mm,
I really feel like that was the best decision that I took for myself. This
sure.
was long back, but honestly, that entire thing of like, hey, I think there is something wrong, but you cannot place a finger on what it is.
Mm,
But this is my way of looking at it. And we have done a post on that, right? Like, it is literally about having your imagine like your laundry right in front of you, but then whenever you fold your laundry and you put it right in its spaces, it's easier for
yes.
you to navigate through those sections rather than it just being like a huge pile and like everything wrapped up, because
Yeah.
then something is bleeding into something is like getting on. It's just, I feel when you reach out and when you seek help, not I'm not just saying it is in terms of like mental health in
Yeah.
any shape or form. It is literally almost you're like folding it and putting it into a right space rather than you
Yeah.
just like taking care of it and just shoving it aside. That is not going to help you today. It might seem fine, but in the long run, I don't think so. And this is my personal experience. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not. I am more of a designer, more of a creative soul.
Right.
And that is my take on it. And I hope that, we help create, or at least I'm going to say some people like get into their deeper thoughts and understand, it's okay to reach out. It doesn't make you feel weak.
Right. Such a good point. It's not meant to make you look weak or feel weak. And somehow that seems to be a stigma that we're still discovering and we need to shift out of.
Yes.
And that comes into the question of like, why is it? I think we need to talk about why it might be hard to ask for help, right? Like we have essentially glorified independence
Yes.
and we've considered being independent as being this token, something that you need to walk around with like a badge of honor
Mm-hmm.
and say like, yeah, I did it by myself and I'm figuring it out by myself. And as a business owner, I have had to learn it the hard way that whenever, I mean, in the beginning, I actually did. I would consider myself a person that would have had a difficult time asking for help. I
Yes.
can say that my past self has struggled asking for help, mostly because of the culture that I grew up in and the family and the dynamics of my life and my life experiences has kind of geared me towards thinking more about, you know what, if you ask for help, that means you're not thinking hard enough, right? It means you're not
Right.
trying everything. And what if people don't help you? So I think I wonder, and I want to ask you this because I would think about like if I asked for help and nobody could help, that was more devastating than me asking for help and finding that like me not asking for help and just realizing that it's my fault that I couldn't figure it out and I don't have to blame anybody else. So I
Yeah.
I think about that a lot, because I don't have to blame anybody else but myself if I try to figure something out without asking for help.
Right.
But in my life, I've also come to learn that asking for help has given me this opportunity to experience an all new level kind of expansion, you
Yeah.
know? So why is it that we find it so hard to ask for help? What do you think?
So my honest take would be, now I am talking about two different versions of me. There was one version of me before, when I got into the entire zone about not even healing, when I started, I'm not even going to say therapy or anything. I was a different
Hmm.
person. I could never speak up to anybody and say, hey, I'm suffering, or I think I want to talk it out this way.
Yeah.
I would feel all of the feelings,
Right.
never talk to anybody, get over it, and then tell the entire world why was I acting weird. It was a very common pattern in my life. Done it
Mm.
for super long, but in that, I realized that I end up hurting the people who are really close to me, because
Yeah.
you don't know why I'm acting so distant suddenly. You don't
Right.
know why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. Now, through this journey, I realized, yes, there is some shame attached to it, because you don't know if your problem is big or small at that minute, right? Like in your head,
Right.
it's the biggest problem. But
It's
what
true.
you're sad about is something small for somebody else, right? Like
Could be.
you judge it in your head and you think it's not big enough for other people to know. You can maneuver it, but honestly, I've come to conclusion that that is not the right way. Now that I'm on the other side, I end up talking about it. Literally, I'm going to say within the first 2-3 days max.
Yeah.
If there is something that is bothering me, I'll rather talk it out to the people that are really, really close to me. I know that they're not going to judge me for whatever I'm saying. It
Yeah.
actually helps me come out of it faster. And the shame attached to it, which is like the biggest part, right? I feel it's not there anymore, because the thing is that it depends on how you put it. It
Yeah.
depends on in what space you're talking, and very, very important, it depends on who you're talking to and what their level of maturity is to deal with a problem like yours.
Yeah.
Yes, you do have friends, you do have people around you, but
Right.
not everybody is equipped. You just need to find that your first tribe. That is what
Exactly.
I'm going to say that is saved me. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Please, like, I would love to hear your thoughts also on it, both as an individual and as somebody who is into mental health. Is that something that people go through, or it's something that was my coping mechanism that I just did and it worked for me?
No, 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 not at all. I mean, you're actually describing some of the things that I've done, like waiting until I have resolved the issue before I go and ask for help. I'm like, why would I even be asked? Technically, I wouldn't even be asking for help. I would just be announcing to people that this was my problem, this is how I figured it out, and this is what I did to resolve the issue. So yeah, I think making sure that the people that you are actually talking to are in a place to help you. Sometimes when you're in a situation, you're not always thinking clearly, and it helps to have an objective person who is not you
Mm-hmm.
listen to what you're going through and offer feedback that would provide a perspective shift, right? And I've had that happen. I mean, in business, when you're an entrepreneur, you can meet burnout very, very quickly if you
Mm-hmm.
are not paying attention to how much energy you are exerting in your day-to-day life towards your business, right? And there's so many different types of struggles that we discover in our day-to-day lives, but to answer your question, in therapy, yes. There's so many clients that I have met and spoken with that have shared the same mentality of they'll either tell me that they waited until the entire building is on fire before they went and said, like, I need help. Right. And that's actually something that happens in therapy. I'm sure if other therapists are listening to this, they can maybe affirm that sometimes when a client makes it to the therapy room, their building is already on fire and it's
Yeah.
been on fire for a couple of weeks, maybe months, sometimes years. And they've figured out how to navigate through the fire, but they haven't been able to put the fire out, and eventually they get so burnt out and frustrated that either their family is forcing them to go to therapy,
Yes.
or they have hit rock bottom and now they're like, okay, I have lost everything and everyone. Maybe I need to go talk to somebody.
Yes.
And so asking for help is definitely a challenge. I'm not wanting to sugarcoat it and say, like, oh, yeah, just go around, tell everybody what you're going through, and make sure you tell everybody in your life that you need help. Sometimes that doesn't actually work.
No.
It actually can backfire. I know from experience, if I ask
Same.
for some of my family members, that backfires. I have
Yep.
actually gotten myself in more trouble for just asking for help, which could be why I'm I have in the past been known to keep things hidden and figure it
Yep.
out by myself. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think you are not alone in that. I can definitely add myself to this list. I'm sure there's plenty of others who will also say, yeah, I like to think about my problem and figure it out and feel safe before I introduce other people to it. I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm going to share something a little bit personal, I'm going to say here, but honestly, when I was going through something really difficult in my life, at that point, I really used to feel the walls closing down on me. The
Mm,
room never felt as big, right? It was not the room, it was not everything, it was my mental space.
yeah,
I
yeah.
used to get home on Friday evening and I would only get out again on Monday morning to work. And I have done this. And that would not be normal. So whenever I would do that, like I had patterns to know that if something was really messed up with me, one is having a messy house. If
Okay.
things are not in its place and things are not running smoothly, I need to know that my mental health is not doing, it's not at its
Mm,
best. That was my first clue. And my second clue was when I was being really antisocial,
yeah.
because you suddenly have this feeling of like being judged by everyone. And there was
Oh,
one more point that you bought, which was talking to everyone. I don't think talking to everyone is an option.
right,
Find your people. There are those people who really give you your space to be who you are.
right.
And there are people who take advantage of your situation also. So know where you are at. And honestly, having one person who is like a safe space, whose profession is to guide you through your situations, I feel you should have them around to when you're going through a difficult situation like that in your life. I
Sure.
would say when I was moving countries, it didn't seem that trivial at that point, but I definitely reached out because there was so many things that were going on
Mm,
in my head that I decided not to look at it and put it on the back burner.
mhm.
And it never served me any right up until I moved here. And finally, my guard came down. I moved here in April. My guard came down in December.
Right.
It was a lot for me to deal with it. It was
Yeah.
a lot. By then, I had, people had misunderstood me. Things had gone down in my life. I'm saying this happened to me when I had help as well. So,
Right.
everything is, you reach out, you take help, you do all of these things. But you cannot guarantee, because even the people involved in the situations need to be there 100% for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that matters, right? Like that is not a failure on you or a failure on them. It's something that you go through and you have to grow from it, is where I am at. And it's a little bit of personal experience. And I'm not sharing that, oh, I didn't have help. I did have help.
Yeah.
The change was so much that it was going to take a piece of me. And I
Yeah.
had to make peace with that. Like that happened to me literally after I moved here. I'm like, it's okay. It was so huge in my life that it was okay for me to do so. So
Mm.
I don't know. Right? Was there a burnout? Was there mood swings? Was that a complete withdrawal from situations? Yes, it was. Was there exhaustion? Yes,
Yeah.
a lot. A lot of it that I addressed after almost 7 to 8 months,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was a lot of time in between.
Gosh, you're making such a good point about even though you ask for help, it doesn't always guarantee that the help that you're receiving is somehow going to change every single
Yes.
thing that you are feeling. Because what you're describing is a milestone, a life
Hmm.
experience that completely shifted your reality. I mean, you literally changed your reality moving from Dubai to the US, right? Michigan, Midwest of all places.
I love Midwest.
Right. It's so cute. There's so much in Michigan in the Midwest to offer. It just I'm really happy that I've lived here. and gotten to experience this fully. But yeah, coming back to what are you supposed to do, right? Why is it that society perceives asking for help as something to be ashamed of? What is it that we can do to
Yes.
reframe, and what have you may have tried or is trying now or doing now to reframe, because shame is such a hot topic. I mean, it
Yes.
comes up in therapy all the time. I can talk about shame forever, but I'm not wanting to make shame the primary focus of today's conversation. But shame is kind of aligning with asking for help, right? Like people
Yes.
feel ashamed to ask for help, or they feel like something is wrong with them if they're asking for help. And I have never to this day met someone who has never needed help. I'm looking. I actively look for people and I pay attention to, like, could this person be? And I'm like, nope, nope. They could benefit from help over here. Are they asking for help? No.
No.
I've had to learn, as somebody who used to just jump in and help other people, even when they're not asking for help, I've had to learn how not, and how to trust and wait for the other person to ask.
Yes.
So, anyways, I'm going to reel it back and come back to the question because I got sidetracked. Shame.
Yes. I have something small to just make sure that it's not more of a shame, it's more of an helping hand. I'm going to put it that way, is because,
Hmm.
and it depends on who you're sharing also. Like when I'm not going to say even like when you share anything, your responsibility, imagine you're picking up a heavy bag and you just suddenly decide to ask somebody else and help them with you, just hold another side of the bag just for a brief while. Okay. And you bring this, I'm going to say this bag of groceries, right? It's really heavy. You ask somebody to walk with you, you ask them to hold it, it suddenly becomes a little bit lighter for you. You come back
Yes.
home and unpack all of those things. Your worries are gone. It's suddenly,
Yeah.
it's not the heaviest thing that you're bringing with you. So
Mm.
think about asking anybody for help, not in mental, like even imagine like um
Every day. Yeah.
the biggest things, like you have to bring something from your car back home, like one of your
Right.
groceries or one of your electronics that you bought. You don't need help. You have to mount your TV. You do need help. You cannot do it by yourself. It is a basics, right? Like when you ask for help, first it's done faster. Okay.
Right.
It saves 50% of your time.
Yeah.
You get to spend time with somebody. Okay.
Right.
Somebody that this person was really close to you. So it's a win-win. And you get to share the load. And I feel it's a privilege. It's a privilege if I'm being a part of somebody else's life where they can share their load with me and vice
Yeah.
versa. If I'm sharing my load, that means that person has taken up that much priority in my life, right? Like
Yes.
if you think about it that way, suddenly that shame I feel falls off. Um,
Mm.
but is it easy to do so? For somebody who comes with a lot of control, it's not.
Right. Right.
But somebody who's
Control.
on the other side, it's the best thing that I've done and given myself.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, listening to you made me think of a friend in college. We bought she ended up buying some piece of furniture from IKEA, and in the instructions it
Hmm.
specifically said this is not a one-man job. Have a friend or person with you. This is a two-person job. And she was so hyper independent that she was determined to challenge this manual, this little piece of paper that gave her the request of, like, hey, make sure you have somebody else to help you. And I remember her calling me in the middle of the night because part of it had fallen on top of her and now she was like stuck. Not really stuck, but she
Yes.
was kind of frustrated because she had spent hours trying to do it herself. And then she calls me and it's like after 11 and I was almost asleep. And then she's like, Nishani, remember how you suggested that it would be a good idea for you to be there and help me? Can I take you up on this offer right now? And I could have, and I hesitated, I could have very, very happily told her, no, I'm sorry, I'm getting ready for sleep, or haha, I told you so, which does happen. I've done that, definitely have done that. But I ended up showing up and we had this conversation about why was it that she felt the need to challenge a
Right.
piece of paper. right? This
Yes.
was like, it's not like IKEA even knew her. IKEA is not one person. IKEA doesn't care. They're just
No,
providing an instruction and saying, like, hey, and I know that's a very simple, kind of like the examples that you're saying, it's not a major thing,
it's
but
not.
it's the mindset. It's the mindset that she took that as a challenge to say, you know what, I'm gonna say, well, you know what, bet I'm going to challenge myself into doing something that technically is impossible to do. And she couldn't.
Yeah.
She genuinely could not complete the task. And I'm not saying all tasks are like that, but to your point, sometimes it just works. And it is better, maybe, to help somebody rather than to ask for help. I think, because you feel better about yourself when
Y-
you're helping somebody else. But then when you're asking for help, you're put on the spot. Like you have this like center stage spotlight moment.
Yep.
And I know so many people in my personal life as therapy clients who hate being in the spotlight completely. And so they never want to ask for help because
Mm-hmm.
that would put them in the spotlight. So yeah, there's so many avenues, right, with reaching out for help. And I also wanted to bring out the mental health piece of asking for help when you're really feeling depressed and
Yes.
even suicidal, right? In my culture in Sri Lanka, talking about suicide is such a foreign, like, why would we need to talk about it? Oh, it's not really that big of a deal. Or if someone says, I want to end my life, people laugh and they're like, oh, you're just being silly.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's just who they are. So there is also this mindset, like if someone were to ask for help, would we even understand what they're looking for and be able to offer the support that they need?
You are really making me think. I am going to say we are in a confused world a little bit. I'm going to say at this point, a lot of us are aware that these problems are real,
Yeah.
but there are some people who still live in La La Land, who still
Yes.
feel like these are things that are not to,
True. Yeah.
like, worry about, or somebody's just acting up, or it's attention seeking, right? A lot of people
Yeah.
end
That
up using the term attention seeking.
attention seeking. Yes.
And honestly, I don't think of it that way.
Right.
Even when you're saying mental health, like, things are just like there's a lot of trigger that's happening in my head, which is like, even as an individual, right? Like you have to bring something home, and if you have to ask somebody for that help, people are usually like, oh, are you so weak that you can't do it yourself? And
Oh,
I don't think so. Like I remember me, so we reached out to you, right? Like you have a truck here, we needed to haul our furniture, which is
yeah. The
ages
furniture.
back, right? Like which was
Yes.
as soon as I had moved here, right? Like we reached
Yeah.
out to you. So all of us were there, and suddenly that job just felt so easy. Now,
Right.
was that, like, if you take it like in terms of like super, like, spiritual or whatever way, it didn't like
Mm.
kind of put us in a spot. Like, it was so easy that the furniture piece was home in like literally 30 minutes. From the car to the home, it was not the biggest thing
Yeah.
that we all dealt with. It was so quick, so easy. And I'm like, okay, all we had to do was ask help. But imagine if Nitesh and I had to do by ourselves, that would have been a very difficult task. And at the end of it, what did we get out of it? We got good tacos and we got to spend some time and we
That's
got our
true.
furniture home.
Yes. And that's probably where the fear of asking for help comes from, because maybe some of us did ask for help, right, in our
Yes.
history with our ancestors, and some of them got bullied for asking for help, or they were ridiculed for even trying, or they were given help and then they were made fun of. Like that's
Yes.
happened to me. Like someone in the past, like they've helped me, but then afterwards they kept bringing it up as a way of like nagging me about, oh, hey,
Ye-
remember the time when I did this? Remember the time when I did this? And it lost its value, right? And
Mhm.
maybe that's a little bit of my ego stepping in, thinking like, I don't want to be reminded of my vulnerability moment, right? I don't want someone to hold it against me.
Yes.
And also, because of what I know about your family and my family, I think that also is one of the triggers that we have had to work out on, so that when we do ask for help, especially here, like I have a whole new community of people that I have
Yeah.
met here, right? Same with you. And they are nowhere in the same bracket of experiences where I used to have when I was in with the Lankan crew in the culture that I grew up in. Asking for help over there was seen as such a taboo topic. Like I was supposed to just figure it out. And if someone did offer me help, it was a way for them to hold it over my head.
Right.
And here, I'm not getting that same vibe. Sometimes I do, sometimes, very
Mm-hmm.
rarely. But that independence is encouraged, but also
Right.
being a community person has been picking up the speed in my life, in my immediate environment. And maybe that's because I have also taken a different stance on being vulnerable, perceiving vulnerability as bravery, which Dr. Brene Brown introduced in her talk. She talked about how
Right.
vulnerability and bravery are like the same because you cannot be vulnerable without being brave enough to put yourself out there
Is
and
so
be
true.
perceived and judged by others, right? You may not know what they're judging or perceiving you as, but you put yourself out there, which means other people can have their own opinions about what you're doing and how you're asking for help.
Right. That leads me to a very different question, and you're the best person that I can ask is what if somebody comes to me? Okay, I'm a person who has no idea, but like, what is a language when they are trying to share their deepest secrets with me? What is a language that I should avoid?
Oh, yeah. Great question. How would you tell someone that they are brave enough to even come out and say it? So number one, when someone comes to you and tells you something really deep or a secret and they disclose that way, that's already a privilege that you have been able to experience by them
Right.
just disclosing something, right? So they've already trusted you to a
Mm-hmm.
degree that tells you that you are worthy of their trust, that they are
Right.
feeling safe with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what could you do? And I know this happens so automatically, but we love to give solutions to people when they come to us with problems, right? Because we're thinking that the only reason you might be coming to me is because you can't figure it out and you need someone else to give you the pathway to take, right? And that's not always the case. I'm actually also the culprit of giving solutions, even though I'm a therapist with my friends. It happens automatically. And then I'll have to remember, like, wait, does this person need me as a friend with the solution?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does this friend need Nishani, the solution focused person, or does this friend need Nishani, the empathetic listener? Most of us, when we talk about something, we just want to know that we're not alone.
Yeah.
At least I'll speak to my own experience. That's what I'm really looking for. I just want to make sure that I'm not alone when I say something that I'm going through. I'm talking through something that's really stressing me out. I want to know that I'm not alone. So, what could you, as the listener, provide that person the reassurance of you're not alone? And sometimes we actually
Yeah.
say the words, you're not alone. I'm not sure if it's always enough. Like, you might have to find a way to add something from your own personality to express to them. Number one, thank you so much for trusting me with this, right?
Yes.
Even identifying that they are brave to share something, especially depending on what they're sharing, and resisting the urge to offer solutions or maybe asking. I've done that lately, sometimes with friends, especially when I'm on the phone with my old friends. I'm like, hey, are you looking to vent? Do you want like advice? Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about? Because if you just want to vent, I can be a sounding board and offer you feedback, meaning like I'll show you that I'm listening to you, right?
Yeah.
I'll add to the conversation. Maybe I'll add something that I'm going through that sounds similar if that helps you. But I ask, like, are you looking for actual feedback or are you just looking to vent out because you already know what to do?
Exactly.
Maybe you're just unsure on how to do it or you don't feel ready yet. So you're trying to talk it out. I'm a
Yeah.
verbal processor. I think I may have mentioned that already in this
Mm-hmm.
podcast series. I'm very much a verbal processor. So talking through something helps me. But yeah, not offering solutions, being very clear about how what role can you play if someone comes to you with a problem, right? You can
Right.
either be like, if I'm talking to you, Gigi, about like a branding related
Mm-hmm.
problem, like you actually are the person to provide me the feedback that I
Right.
need to envision how to take this story. How do I curate it to fit the need, right? And you might come to me with a mental health problem, and I might be like, okay, yeah, this is my area of expertise. That's why sometimes my friends will come to me because they're looking for some sort of therapeutic feedback. I often give them my friend mode, and I'm like, no, unless you pay me, I just give them solutions. And they're like, no, Nishani, that's not what we're looking for. I'm like, well, too bad. You didn't hire me as your therapist.
I really wish sometimes I could work with you in that capacity, but yeah, we're too close as friends to be
Yeah,
working in that capacity too.
right.
Yeah.
And not gonna lie, it's not like I'm very different in the therapy room that I am here with you, with my friends. This is
We
me.
get double bonus. We're so happy. But yeah, like what you said, it hit a little bit of home run for me because I do that with my husband. Like sometimes I just go up to him and I'm like, hey, I just
Mm,
want you to listen. Don't give me advice because I know
yeah.
where I'm headed. I know what I have to do. And that also came to us after a few fights, I'm going to say, because
Yeah.
usually I would
Yeah.
go up to him and expect him to understand and just listen to me. And that's not
Mm,
possible. Honestly, like I have had this conversation with you, and somehow guys really feel whenever you talk to them, you have to offer them a solution. And I'm not going
right.
to make it very gender based. It's a lot of people. Like you go up to
Sure.
them, and the first thing is, you need to do this. I don't want to
Yes.
know what I need to know. I just am looking to vent. You have to
Yeah.
listen to me, and I'm done after that, right? Like, so now he understands, and it's a blessing. So you need to, I feel like you need to create uh,
Yeah.
your first line of like defenses for everything, right? Like, you need to know who you are with, your
Mm,
friends, and how you can kind of tell them things and navigate with their help. I'm going to be
yeah.
like, sometimes like, do I tell my husband everything? I don't think so, because
Sure.
how much of your burden are you going to make only one person carry, right? And when I moved here, I was very open to him about it. I've said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do it initially because I have nobody here. Yes, my
Yeah.
friends were on video calls. Everybody needs to be mindful of their first line of like defense. I'm going to say is like, who do you talk to? Because that
Mm, mm,
literally directly affects your thought process, your mental space, your
yeah.
life in general. I'm going to say, like,
Mm,
it's the way you look at things, how you want to be pursued, what you want to do, it everything is affected. So I
yeah.
just feel like that needs to be one of those things that people need to consider.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And as you were saying that, I remembered what you had said earlier, that if your room or your apartment or where you're living, if it looked messy, or if you were staying away from social events, that was a sign, which then made me go, you know what? We need to
Yeah.
talk more about that. Like, what are some of the signs that would tell you that somebody is needing help or may benefit from receiving help, even if they're not asking for it. These are just for you to look out for our
Yes.
listeners to think about, like, how would I detect this, right? Like, maybe as a therapist, I may have um, a better radar. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can, in my head, there's like red, yellow, and green flags that go go out. And it's a term that I use in therapy. I know other therapists use it. Um, I can, when I'm listening to friends, like sometimes I'll ignore subtle yellow signs of like, okay,
Yeah.
something is going on with them, but they're not talking to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not asking for help. So let me not intervene, right? I have to trust that when they are ready, that they are comfortable saying it. Or I try to add some sort of language that tells them that, like, hey, by the way, I'm thinking about you. If there's anything you want to talk about, like, I'm here for you. I just put that
Mm-hmm.
out there, right? Because nobody ever wants to hear, by the way, something looks wrong with you. You look tired. And what is it? Like, I don't think, at least I know that I would get defensive if someone came at me like that. So, anyways, what are some of the signs? Like,
Before you get into this, because I know you're like, educating all of us on how to read the subtle signs, my major question to you is, when
hmm,
somebody is being defensive, is it
oh,
one of the biggest signs to look for or not?
I mean, depending on how big their reaction is, which I know, well, we obviously know each other in our personal lives, and I know that we have people in our lives that may get defensive when we suggest solutions for them, when we
Yes.
ask them to reach out and ask for help, even if it's not with us, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
happened to me. I know it's happened to you with friends, family, loved ones, whatever.
Yes.
So you make a good point. Defensiveness, right? Anytime we get defensive, it's because it struck a nerve, right? The whole point of getting defensive is
True.
because there's something to defend. And that's what I was saying. It depends on how big that reaction is. So if I'm like
Yeah.
talking to someone and I point out to them that they what's a good example? That they haven't taken care of their laundry. I walk into their house, like you said, laundry earlier. So
Uh-huh.
let's say I walk into someone's house and I see the laundry pile and I make a gentle joke of like, oh, look at the mountain of laundry, right? That can trigger someone who is already feeling ashamed
Yes.
for what their laundry looks like and how they're supposed to be versus what they end up doing and what it looks like to
Yeah.
somebody else, right?
Can I just do this like a small appeal to like a people who are listening to us? Please, can you not go commenting about everybody's everything, please, because we don't know what everybody is going through.
So
Just
true.
don't. Like, either give them a better side or just don't comment on it. Like, it's
That's
not
true.
difficult. Hold your thought inside, comment inside, make a joke inside, and keep it inside. Just don't voice. I am guilty
Yeah.
of doing that. And I'm well, like, aware of my situation today. And I'm like, I honestly just don't talk about it, and it is better.
Yeah.
It's honestly
Honestly.
so better.
Yes, no, and that is part of our culture, right? Like my aunts, my dad's side of the family, that's all they would do when they go to somebody's house. They would comment on the what's on the shelf, what's not on the shelf, what they believe they should have served us, how they cooked the meal,
Yeah.
the temperature of the meal. And sometimes they would make passive aggressive comments out loud in
Yeah.
front of the host, and other times they will talk about it and gossip, right? So you make a valid point. Like, is it necessary, right? If you were invited to somebody's space, is it necessary for you to point out obvious things that you may see in their home that you personally may not agree with? For instance, laundry or dishes being in the sink. I mean, yeah, this is why like reaching out for help or just saying, or even if somebody were to invite me over to their house, right? And the house isn't clean. Let's say it's not ready for guests, right? Our parents used to love doing that. Like it's
Yeah.
not
We
ready
have
for
that
people.
problem.
And I'm actively working on letting that go because I've realized it's okay for me to appear as a human who is living
Yes.
in my house. It's okay for there to be things incomplete because there's so much time that I spend already on the house, on taking care of things, on making sure everything looks okay. There are just some times when all of those things cannot be addressed. And
Yeah.
is it necessary? To me, I think of it like if it's not hurting you, right? If it doesn't affect you, because somebody else's sink and kitchen is none of my business, if it does not directly affect you, is it necessary? And I know it's not, we're kind of talking about something very different from like asking for help in a way, but like, this is what it looks like, right? If
Yeah.
someone were to say, for example, I walk into someone's house and they're immediately apologizing for their house. They're like, I'm so sorry. It looks like this. It looks messy. And I know a couple of our friends, we all do the same thing with each other. And every
I do
time,
it.
I know, every time I reassure the other person, like, please, I'm here
Mm-hmm.
for you, right? Whatever you're going through right now, that's okay with me,
Yeah.
right? If that means I'm walking into a house. But because of what you said, right? If you are not as social or your home looks messy for an extended period of time, to me, because I now know this, I would consider that, okay, I have to find a way to ask Gigi how she's
Exactly.
doing, right? Like directly. And I know we talk a lot almost every day, but
Yeah.
if I don't detect it and you're not telling me, how would I get it out of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I always have to wait until you're ready to tell
Yes.
me. And I think that's also something I want to add to your question earlier. Like, what do you do? Sometimes people will ask for help, but they won't tell you all of the details that you need to know to offer them help. They will give you bits and pieces
Yes.
because that's all they're ready for. And then
Exactly.
you might try to, play the game of
Mhm.
figuring out like, what could that mean? And what do I need to know? And then you want to have more information. I have had to learn this in my therapy work. My curiosity is not important to helping the other person with their needs. And it's so difficult even in the therapy world, it's difficult because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I am curious. As a human, I'm just curious to know more
Yeah,
details. But my need to know is not what that person needs in that
that
moment.
is such a great tip. Like, I'm going to start practicing that, right? Like, we are curious when somebody tells us one line, and all that we have to practice is just let it be, because what happens is they take their own time, and it's
Mhm.
in the return is a little bit about, I'm going to say, sensing the pulse of the other person, how much information can they digest, and people do
Yeah,
open up, I'm going to say, in bits and pieces.
right.
I really like that. I think I'm going to start actively practicing this. It's really difficult because you're first like, tell me more. Like, it's a very human tendency, I'm
Yes,
going to
it
say.
totally is.
Yeah.
Totally is. And that's why it's important. Sometimes I'll even say it out loud. I will say to people, you know what? There's a need of mine to know more,
Yeah.
but I know that that's not really necessary. If you want to share more, I absolutely want to give you
Yeah.
that time and space to hear it, but it's okay if not. Because, most of the time when we offer solutions or when we're trying to help someone, they get defensive because they feel
Yes.
like we're judging them or
Mm-hmm.
somehow,
Yeah.
whatever it is that they're feeling. So I have learned, and I definitely say this in therapy work too, it's always better to go forward with an I statement. And I know it's something
Yeah.
I'm not the first person to say this, like focusing on I feel, right? Like I feel like something is off or I've been feeling this way. I wonder if you feel the same way, or
Mm,
saying something like, and I think you gave this idea, like, I care about you. I really care about you. I can tell something is not right. I'm not sure what I can do, but I want you to know I'm here for you.
exactly.
Right. And I think even saying that can be challenging to some people, honestly.
I would say that is very true. Because when you are saying that, a lot of people don't receive it that way. They
Right.
immediately put it in a way of like, they think that I'm weak and they think that I need help. And it just suddenly gets into that zone, but you're
Yeah.
operating from a very different level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I am coming to a little bit of conclusion and like trying to understand all of these things as somebody. um we do have people around us who are going through their story, right? Like, not every single
Yeah.
time that they're coming and telling us everything.
Right.
I just try not to bring things up that trigger somebody, and
Mhm.
consciously, like, if I it has happened, right? Like, I
Yeah.
there is something that has come up, consciously try and break it at that minute, give them their space, because
Yeah.
when you're in a friend's setting, bringing that up, opening that bag is not serving anyone, I'm going to say that.
Sure.
But yeah, having said all of these things, right? Like, you deal with a lot of clients and you deal with a lot of people who are actively going through all of these things. I
Right.
just want to know, how does it feel? Like, you've seen your client on day one, and this is your
Ooh.
ideal client. Okay. I'm going to say somebody who has
Okay.
taken the time to even heal. Okay.
Yeah.
Reflect back on their journey, taken your feedback, and decided that they want to grow. How do you feel when, from the day one of their session to, say, day 6 or day 8, when they've taken that feedback, helped themselves, and now they have started changing their narratives and started looking at things in a different way? How do you feel as a person who is kind of helping them navigate? And what are the signs that you look for when you see them being changed, right? Like, we have discussed about signs to look for when
Yes.
somebody is going through something. What are the signs that you see in somebody?
Ooh. Yeah. So I will say, having worked with, I'll pick on a couple of my clients. I have at least about 3 or 4 clients that I have been very lucky and privileged to witness them kind of go through this change while they have been in therapy. As a therapist, I don't always get the privilege of witnessing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the light bulb sometimes just goes off at random times. Like I could be in therapy with a client for 2 years, and after they've left my therapy room and they've kind of gone ahead, moved on with their life and whatever, years later, it finally clicks. Everything that we talked about 8 years
Yes.
ago, they finally fully understand and can grasp it. That has actually happened. But more specifically to your question, for me, I have quite literally like I have resisted the urge to scream in a session and like scream with excitement when I realized one of my clients like finally got something, like they figured out something for themselves. So yeah, I've actually have a couple of clients who in the beginning stages they would talk about something because again, when you're an objective listener, you can see things that the person who's in the situation cannot always see.
Yep.
That's why asking for help is so beneficial because you invite people who are not personally tied to the situation.
Right.
And when you remove that personal tie, our logical brain can have this vantage point, kind of like an eagle eye view of
Mm-hmm.
everything that's happening, and they can see into things a little differently. I'm not saying the person in the situation cannot do that, but if somebody is in that space of needing help, they're most likely in a survivalistic mode,
Right.
right? They do not feel safe, which is why they get defensive, which is
Mm-hmm.
why they may be closed off and they may naturally not want to ask for help because now they feel like their life is in danger in a way, right?
Yeah.
So when clients move out of that, and that's got a lot to do with emotion regulation. So
Mm-hmm.
my job sometimes as a therapist is also to be the person that continues to be safe for my client, a safe person for my client, even though they may be sharing some really deep, dark truths and dark things that they feel a lot of shame about.
Yeah.
So change happens when people finally realize that whatever it is that they've been hiding that they feel like is so taboo is actually a really normal thing. It's a very common issue, which happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realize like, oh, Nishani isn't judging me. Nishani isn't like asking me to change. In fact, she's telling me that it's okay for me to stay
Mm-hmm.
in this awareness.
Yep.
I call it like catching it. I'm like, let's just catch it, right? At the end of the day, all we have to do is create space in our mind for our brain to fully absorb what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
when clients get to that point and they can absorb it, all of a sudden they start seeing the path forward. They can figure out the solutions that they need to implement in their immediate life. And then they just talk through it with me. And when they do, I'm like, okay, it sounds like you've got it, right? Like I do
Yep.
not need to step in here. Now, the only times I've actually had to step in, and I will say that coming back to our conversation about suicide prevention, when a client, if anybody ever has felt that they would be better off dead, I have heard from people that they might have thought sometime in their life that they're better off not being alive, that they, if they were in a car crash or a plane crash, that it would be okay, right? That if they died, that it would be okay. They wouldn't do anything, but if something happened, then they would not complain about it either, right? And when someone speaks this way, especially repeatedly, it tells me as a professional that their brain chemistry has been affected. Like something in
Right.
their mind is affected where their brain is thinking it's better if I turn the switch off and end it, right? Rather than figuring it out.
Mm.
No animal and no other instinctual being in our on this planet will just decide to end their life.
Yeah.
It's not a biologically beneficial element for a deer to be like, you know what? Life has been too difficult. I couldn't find any food today. I'm just going to walk in front of this car. Like they don't
Yeah.
actually do that on purpose. There's no
True.
cognitive ability in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
So to detect that. But humans do. We have this ability to look into our life experience and have like a zoomed out perspective and a zoomed in perspective. We can do that as conscious beings, right? And the brain, advanced brain allows us to do that. So when someone tells me that they are not sure if they want to be alive, they're not sure what they need to do with their lives, and they feel so helpless, everything makes them mad, everything makes them feel like they're not deserving of being here anymore, there is a part of me that changes from, okay, this is something that I can just let be versus, no, 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 this is something we need to directly address. We need to
Yeah.
figure out what is it that's prompting your brain to go from, I can figure it out to, no, nothing is figure outable. I just need to end it. That
Yeah.
shift, I've actually had clients who have been suicidal when they first started working with me. And then, like you said, 6 or 8 days, I would call it more like years. Sometimes I think it takes years for someone to finally go from like, this is where I was to, okay, I feel ready now to like
Yeah.
really talk about something. Like I said, right? People come to therapy and they have building is on fire, everything is on fire. And then with time, they learn to manage the fire. The fire may
Right.
not always be gone, but they learn to manage the fire a little bit better. Like they have
Yes.
more tools now to be like,
Yeah.
I can deal with this corner, I can deal with this corner. And they go around sorting that. That is signs of progress. That looks like they are experiencing problems because as we know, life is not going to stop throwing curveballs. It is
Definitely never.
part of the process. And so when that happens, right, I don't want people to be like, okay, I need my therapist. I need to have these people in my life. I want them to also have that self confidence and esteem to be like, this is a problem. This is an issue. It's stressing me out.
Mm-hmm.
But can I use the resources available to me? And part of that could be social support. Part
Yeah.
of that could be a professional person to help with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe part of it is none of the above and you find another way. Maybe that's also true. But
Yeah.
when people start venturing out in the therapy world and they start realizing like, I can handle this problem. I can discover this. And they start speaking more like, I know that sometimes I can get sad, I can feel really sad, but sadness is not forever. And they have that like glimmer of hope that remember I have survived more, especially people who have witnessed and experienced a lot of abuse and trauma in their early life.
Yes.
I remind them every day, I'm like, you already survived some of the worst environments and situations known to mankind. And
Yes.
you were a little kid or a little version or a younger version when you did that. So for us to talk about it now is completely different because your past self already survived the worst of
Yeah.
it. Right. And so I give that kind of reassurance to people. I'm not sure if I exactly answered your question because I don't have a direct exact example because I think it's subtle. I'm not sure if I can
Yeah.
pinpoint every time when I catch it in clients.
But honestly, that helps. It helps a lot of us who don't reach out, right? It helps a lot of people just understand the small signs of like what it means to go out
Yeah.
and normalize having these conversations. Like the
Yes.
entire aim of us talking about all of these things is that, hey, you're not alone. And how do we say you're not alone? By just normalizing these conversations. If somebody
Yeah.
comes to you, please don't laugh at their face. You have no idea what they're going through.
Right.
Calling them words, please don't do that. You're hurting some version of them. Just show some compassion. And that in no ways means like, oh, you cannot have friends. Or you can make
Right.
fun of your friends. You can, but
Yes.
make sure that it's not something that would kind of put them in a difficult situations. Again, it's coming from me because it's not like I've not done it in the past. I have, but I'm going to say I'm a little bit mindful now because being through some of those things personally, I just feel it's not worth it. You are putting somebody and signing them up for something that was never meant to be a part of their story, right? Like you're
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
them a trauma, or you're giving them something to think about, or an insecurity which was not even in their head. So
Yes. Oh my
I
God. Yeah.
feel that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And, there's so many different kinds of people lately, especially leaders who are coming out and announcing that they are actually asking for help. There's been like Olympic athletes who have been saying, like, hey, by the way, this is so intense. I couldn't do this alone. I
Yeah,
had to ask for help. So I know that the entire idea behind reaching out and asking for help is starting to build momentum and we're
yeah,
normalizing it more and more every day. I would love for this conversation to bleed into our cultures, like for India, Sri Lanka, Asia, for us in those parts of the world. I think according to, I'm no longer a part of that Sri Lankan culture daily, but I listen to my brother and he's pointing out to me that, yeah, those conversations are coming up. We're normalizing mental health. We're normalizing needing to ask for help
Yes.
and being vulnerable and brave to put it out there so that you are not alone. So I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, how has seeking help transformed your life?
I'm going to say a lot, and I'm going to bring in a personal experience about an insecurity and how it helped me. I have been dealing with acne, I don't know, from years now. My age, I'm closer to 35. I still have active acne, right?
Sure.
Maybe whatever,
Yeah.
in whatever space. Before, I used to really be bothered when somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, you still have acne. Oh, your face is looking really whatever right now." Dealt with it for really long, and that would really put me in a bad situation. It put me in
Yeah.
such a bad situation that I used to use makeup to hide it.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Now I've come in that space of my life. And as you said, how it helped me is I'm like, yes, I know I'm dealing with it. Thank you so
Right.
much for again pointing it out to my life, because I obviously I cannot see myself in the mirror, right? Like,
Right.
no, it's
Right.
only you can see me. I don't see myself. Anyway, let's moving on. Now I wear it more like a badge. I know I'm going through something. I am a warrior and I'm going to fight it. Right? What are the reasons that my acne comes out? I know it. Do you know? No. So don't poke at
Yeah.
my life for those reasons. Acne is a very
Sure.
small thing that you're going through. But how does
Yeah.
it come? It comes out of stress. It comes out of not being able to take whatever the reasons are,
Yeah.
right? And for
Exactly.
a lot of us, it's hormonal and it's okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's okay. And
Right.
seeking the therapy has made me so confident in myself that I use makeup, but I don't use it anymore to hide it. I
Sure.
use it because I love it. I use it because it makes me feel good. I don't
Yeah.
wear makeup for other people anymore. I wear it for myself. And I'm just going to say that just take this as the biggest step. And that's how it has transformed me. I use things not as a shield anymore. I use it more like a badge.
Yeah.
May
Yeah.
it be like skincare or may it be tools that you defined. Yes, I use those tools that I have gotten in my life to segregate things to help me feel stronger. Like, do you think when somebody comes up to me, it does hurt me at that minute, but in my
Yeah.
brain I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this works for me, this doesn't, this is an outcome, this is how I need to feel. Is this in my control or out of my control? When the answer is out of my control, I am like, it doesn't even hold space in my life. Thank you so much. Moving on to
Right.
next.
Sure.
That's how it I've been going through off late. I'm going to say this is what therapy has brought in my life.
Sure.
And I'm learning how to healthily put boundaries in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that mean that I don't like them? No, it doesn't. It just means I respect myself a little bit more.
Right. And, you know, it sounds like asking for help for you look like getting that professional support, right? I know you've been
Yes.
kind of having to ask for help since you've moved from UAE to the US, right? You had no choice but to ask because you literally don't know. You know what I mean?
I'm going
You,
to bring
you
in a
don't know.
little bit cultural thing. Everybody thought that somehow I shouldn't feel bad because I was getting something nice in return. I was going to go live with the person that I love. True. I was
Sure.
getting an upgrade in my life because I was definitely getting married. That's an upgrade. Well, before
Apparently.
that, I was single. So obviously, who cared? But anyway.
Right.
So, with all of those good things, I was not supposed to feel bad for what I was losing out on.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think that's the right way of looking at it, right? Like, I'm sharing this as a personal experience, but no, I did. I did feel bad for the small things that I had in my house then, right? Like, maybe my coffee machine or maybe a small table that I own, right? Like, I did
Sure.
have an attachment to it, my plants. Like, these are things that you don't care about usually in your day to day because you can get new. Obviously,
Yeah.
everybody has that thought process. But yeah, I did worry about the friends that I was going to leave behind. Did anybody think of that? I did care about the work that I was leaving behind. I really enjoyed what I was doing.
Yeah.
These are the things that I had to fight. My day, what it looked like versus what it looks like now. I am just the tiniest example in this biggest pool that people are navigating through. Your examples are going to be completely different. Don't let anybody tell you what your right and wrong is what I
Right.
have come to a conclusion about.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know, right? Like, in whatever situation you are, you're the best judge.
Yes.
Trust your gut, trust your instincts, and find somebody who is capable of navigating you. You cannot take your boat into a rocky sea not knowing who the guiding force is going to be.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
cannot be somebody who
Especially.
doesn't know. Or it's just like, flying a plane without a pilot. You cannot do
Yeah.
that. You're going to crash. Take a pilot with you, even if you want to be like a co pilot on the side and experience it. Do that with somebody who is experienced. Is
Right.
literally my way of telling people, like, you cannot. And yes, definitely, then your co-passengers who you want to fly that plane with. Imagine, it's an example that I put in my head, right? Like, yeah, I definitely want to be in the driving seat, but who is going to be the co-passengers with me is equally important. Me getting
Yes.
onto the road for the first time, it's very
Absolutely.
important. So think of it that way. And I would say, just make your circle so reliable that you're okay.
Yeah, right. And what we're really wanting to express through our personal anecdotes here is that when you do ask for help, sometimes it means that you are also facing truths about yourself
Yes.
when you do. And
Yeah.
what something that you're talking about, especially with your journey with acne, is that you've had to accept this part of yourself and own it in some manner of speaking, because in the past, others were making you feel insecure by these words and their observations and whatnot. And then you were like, you know what? I'm not waiting for others to reaffirm it. I already know that this is where I'm at. I'm okay with it. I'm figuring it out. I'm looking for help. I'm figuring out what I need to do, who I need to talk to and whatnot to learn more about it. But that doesn't mean that it somehow makes me less than. And that's really our
Exactly.
goal, right? Anything that makes you feel like, or anybody that makes you feel like you are less than for asking for help, it's not really a reflection of you. It's more about them and their resistance to ever being that vulnerable and brave. And so, whenever you're thinking about asking for help, or if you've ever considered it and you never have, or maybe you've started and you feel kind of uneasy, just know that it's going to take some time. I know for a fact that it did not feel easy for me in the early stages of me deciding that I do need help. I cannot do this by myself. And I'm speaking more about being an entrepreneur and a business owner. I was like, I cannot do this by myself. There's things that I just do not know. And I don't have enough time to learn it in order to master it before I discover how to work out the problem that I'm facing,
Mm,
and that it's okay for me to rely on others. So I think this is the message that we want to share with everybody is, if you're thinking about reaching out, or you are somebody who others come to and they are reaching out, how could you support a friend gently, right? How could you provide feedback for them without letting your own needs, your curiosity getting in the way? Because that's a big thing. Can maintain, can you hold space? And in therapy, we say that a lot. Can you hold space to just notice something, right? Sometimes being in silence is also holding space. You may not
yes.
always need to have words and things that you're doing just so that you're there for somebody else and you're showing them that they matter. Sometimes just being there in presence is sufficient, and sometimes taking that first step is the hardest. Actually, not sometimes. Taking the first step is definitely the
The
hardest. Even
hardest.
thinking about taking the step is pretty difficult. I know it took me a while, but now I'm like, okay, I think I understand that when I take that step and I put myself in a position where I can be judged, but I no longer care about the judgment, right? Because I
Yeah.
know that whatever it is that I'm going through is truly, truly a normal situation. I know there's somebody on this planet Earth who has been through this the same. Maybe it's not the
Mm-hmm.
exact same thing, but something similar where they felt the same way. And that has really helped me. So, if anything, I just want to reiterate that in our message here, that trust and
Yeah.
believe everything you've been through, someone else on this planet Earth has also been through it. They might not have walked the same path as you, but they can certainly understand it. And if you feel like there is nobody in your life who understands it, and if you feel like you're stuck by yourself, just feeling like you have to deal with it on your own, reach out to Gigi and I. I mean,
Yes, please.
both of us are happy. We may not even be the persons that actually will help you, but I know for a fact that I'm happy to just listen to someone and offer them any feedback, anything that I can do to show somebody else that it is okay for you to have asked for help. And it's
Yeah.
okay for you to put yourself out there because it's super brave to even say that I need help. And that is what we're wanting to share, right? We're putting our personal lives out in here and talking
Yeah.
about how our experiences have shaped us. And some of it is funny. I mean, we laughed a whole bunch during our podcast today because we have sarcasm, having grown up in our cultures of having people who have made fun of us for asking for
Yes.
help. So both of us have definitely been there. We've been on the other side of being ridiculed or bullied for asking for help or
Mm-hmm.
appearing weak. And both of us have decided that that's not our position. We are not weak. In fact, we are just human and this is what it means to be human.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm just going to say that since I have decided to get some help, it's made me stronger. It's made me a different version of myself, the
Mm.
version that I recognize myself in my head, not the version that
Yes.
everybody made me look at myself. I don't know if it is
Ooh.
making sense. And I hope
Yes.
that this line resonates with a lot of people because honestly, you are only in your way of being stronger. The world is never going to help you. Okay.
Mm.
It's you have to get out of your head first, stand there and be like, hey, listen, I need help. And after
Yeah.
that sentence, all that you're going to do is just get stronger by the second or by minute at whatever pace you're going.
Sure.
I can only say
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Excellent, excellent point. And I think on the record, it's also important to note like some of the strongest people that I know out there, even if I don't know them directly, they all asked for help. That they
Yes.
didn't do it by themselves. Even when we hear of people saying, I'm self made, when we look deeper into their lives, no, they weren't. They had plenty of support. Even if it
Yes.
was a 5-second conversation with somebody, they had support at random times in their
Yes.
life that helped them evolve as a person. And that's what we as humans are here to do. We're not here to drag each other down, right? We're
Yeah.
here, at least I believe, and I believe I'm speaking for me and Gigi. Both of us believe that we are here to uplift each other. There's plenty of space at the top, whatever that means for you.
Yes.
And there are ways to get there. And if that's not really in your reality, then maybe that is something where you can start just realizing that you deserve better and that it's okay for you to leave environments that are not serving you, that are not supporting you, and that you can find better out there. Because I'll speak to that for my own life. I've been able to find it. I found it through so many people in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, Michigan. And
Yes.
I was shocked. I was shocked. I was like, what? Anyways, so that's
Yeah,
what we're here for.
I am going to ask you for one tip or like that one small thing that you can help somebody really close to you to navigate them on the right path. I know I'm putting you on spot here, but like
Mhm.
what would that one thing be which could go a long way?
One thing to help someone know that they are supported,
Yeah.
right?
Maybe it could just be a hug or I don't know.
Yeah.
What would that
Yeah.
one small gesture that would you think would just help them?
A gesture. Yeah. I guess sometimes I think of, because not everybody's always down for physical touch, right? A hug is such an intimate thing.
Yes.
Sometimes people even block that. I've definitely, I've, in the past, that's definitely been me.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so a gesture, I want to come back to what I said earlier. Like most of us just want to know that we're not alone.
Yeah.
And so if there's something you can do to show the person that you care about, whoever this person is, that they are not alone, whether that's a word, whether you directly say that, like, by the way, please know that you're not the only person who's been through this. Like, and I know sometimes, depending on how you say it, that can also trigger
Yes.
people to getting defensive. I understand that. That's why I'm also realizing, like, what else can we do? Do not make it about you. If someone's coming to you, resist the urge to make it about yourself, right? Resist the urge to offer solutions unless they are directly asking you and saying the words, I need your advice.
So true.
Oh, I need your help with this. And just being yourself. I know this may apply to everybody in so many different ways.
Yep.
As long as you're not ridiculing someone and bullying someone or making fun of them, and you're being yourself and showing them that you are just another human and that we all have things that we go through that make us feel like we're alone,
Mm-hmm.
and that all we need is a reminder that there's someone out there on this planet who's been through the same. And maybe you may not get the chance to meet them, but you certainly will find people who have had similar paths
Yes.
and can walk alongside you. They may not be exactly in your own path, but
Yeah.
they're next to you, you know?
Yeah.
Like I've had so many moments with you where I've been like, wow, we're like from totally different worlds, but somehow we're walking this path and figuring things out. And I can, if I was in this forest, right, and there's all these pathways, I can just look to my left or my right and I'll find people on the other side. They're going through their own challenges and barriers, but they're still walking alongside with me. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not, I know that there's, I wish I could come up with something different, but that's really what's showing
I'm
up.
just going to find points to elaborate a little bit more. But
Yeah.
all I would say is just look around. You
Mm.
have your signs, you have your emotions, and nothing is big and small. Is something that I'm going to say from my own experience. At that point, if you're feeling it's big, it's big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And however small somebody else makes it feel, please do not go under somebody else's pressure. Feel your emotions, let them
Mm.
be, give yourself space, and give yourself a pat on the back that you were able to address them. And
Yeah.
if there is something that we have not spoken about, yeah, we would really love to go and dive into that topic as well
Sure.
and make you all feel seen. I
I,
would just like to say that, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We
yeah.
hope that our conversation has made you feel a little bit more seen, heard.
Mm.
I hope we help you ground yourself as well. And
Yeah.
I hope a little or a lot less alone.
Yeah. To close out, this is our podcast series. If I'm being honest, not promising perfection, but we're showing up exactly as we are. So until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and above all, stay honest.